Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, I think it's pretty clear that Terry Fontenot is still looking for value.
With the roller coaster ride that you have been on this entire season, did you really think it was going to be something different Sunday?
And last but not least, and for the culture, I think Rick Ross is taking this wings thing way too far. That's all coming up next, right here on ATL Day One. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure that you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. But T, when you think about free agency and how everything is played out, I know coming into this free agency period, it's not that great of a class altogether, but there was definitely some value there. And I think that the Falcons started off by proving that by signing wide receiver to Mack Hollins, 1 year, $2.5 million. And, when you talk about those 1 year deals, T, it seems like Terry Fontenot said, you know what? I don't care how much money we have. We still gonna try to find some value and find some good value in this team as far as this wide receiver position to add to the room, because we already know they already got the basketball team ready to go and they was looking to add to it.
Right. And I think that when you look at this position, not that wide receiver isn't somewhat a position of need, but if you're going to spend the money that you have under the cap, you still need to spend it getting the players that are really of need, right? And
Right.
so I'm still saying that you're looking across the space, whether you're looking on the offensive side or defensive side. And yeah, we still need a couple of folks in the
Right.
trenches on the offensive side. And we still need some help on defense. Like, that's not a finished room at all. So I think that's one thing. And then we've kind of noticed, for the most part, except when you have an exceptional talent like a Drake London, or of course tight end, but Kyle Pitts, typically speaking, you can wait until the second or even the third round and get yourself a quality receiver. So
Right.
I feel like this is good enough. Prove it year. Hey, let's get out there. And I don't kind of know what that means for Olamide Zaccheaus. Now, that might be a challenge for him. That might be right, his walking papers. But other than that, I think that room is fine. Nice add-on, if you will. Had a decent year last year with the Raiders. And hey, try for 1 year, see if it works. If it doesn't, keep it moving. If it does, credit to Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith for not breaking the bank to get someone who maybe, from a receiving perspective, turns out to be another Cordero Patterson.
Yeah, and I think that you talk about a guy like Mack Hollins coming off a career year last year with the Las Vegas Raiders. I almost said Oakland. I was really close. 57 catches, 690 yards, 4 touchdowns. Second in the team in both of those categories I just mentioned. So I think one of the things that, you have to really appreciate is the fact that they are willing to look at where they are, and people can look at that receiver group. We just call it that, given Kyle Pitts and his status. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Kind of he fluctuates between tight end and wide receiver depending on how Arthur Smith puts him out there on the field.
Right.
So I think that, continue to add to that position. And you mentioned a name that I would like for them to bring back in Olamide Zaccheaus. So
yeah,
I'd be interested to see if that's still on the mind of Terry Fontenot as far as bringing at least one of those guys back who were kind of looked at as a wide receiver 3 option or even a wide receiver 4 option.
Yeah, and when I look at him, it's interesting because I had to kind of go back and check this out, because I'm like, okay, I want to make sure I've got these numbers right, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because like you said, we're talking about what might happen to Olamide Zaccheaus. Or I was thinking back to this conversation that I think we had about him last summer, because the question was, Arthur Smith, he has a type. And so it's a big body. It's tall, it's big, it's got serious reach, if you will. So the thing about it is, Hollins fits that. He's a 6'4" wide receiver.
Absolutely.
Ozzy's a little bit smaller, a little bit more slight in stature. So that does kind of also you look at it from Arthur Smith's perspective, and you say, well, Mike Hollins does fit the prototype a bit more, and I like to think about it as he of the Julio Jones school of receiving.
Yeah.
He will block a fool. He will hit a fool. So
And
I like that about him as well. Yes. Right. So so that will fit quite nicely in a run heavy, run first offense to have your receivers who can get out there and help your running back to get to that second level.
Yeah, and the book on Hollins is that he is one of the better run blocking wide receivers in the NFL. So, that's what I love about team coaches and general managers establishing their types from the get go. I don't have any problem with that whatsoever because it makes sense. You look at certain players that they sign in free agency and you say, okay, that makes sense. All right, Mack Hollins, that makes sense. 6'4", 220, oh, that makes sense. Oh, he likes to block. Oh, that makes sense. So all of those things kind of come into play when you're talking about what's going to win you games come September when the live bullets start flying, so to speak. But speaking of, we are really getting a little close to some live balls to start flying in spring training as far as with the Braves and the Braves baseball, so to speak. So here's one thing that I thought it was very interesting that you brought this up last week as far as Marcell Ozuna. And, hey, this dude's starting to do a little something now. Now, he recently just hit a 3-run home run just the other day at the plate. And when you look at what the Braves need from him, and I think that they need to find some type of value. I think that's a buzzword for today. As far as especially when you have $32.5 million left on that for 116 this year and 16.2 and next year in 2024. So when you think about the Braves coming into this spring training saying, hey, this dude got to get his thoughts and act together as far as at the plate. When you start to see him start to do that, what do you think that means for Alex Anthopoulos and Brian Snitker as far as where he fits in this lineup once the season gets started?
Yeah, I think he's making the case to make the 40-man roster. Right. And I think if you would ask all of us a few weeks ago, we'd say, heck no, because we know all of the off-field issues and on the field wasn't enough last season to mask that, because we always say winning cures everything. Well, he wasn't winning in left field last year. So, but maybe the old Marcell Ozuna is finally back. I feel like Alex Anthopoulos may allow him to be on that 40-man roster. And let's see if he's really back. But I don't think that means that Orlando Arcia is going anywhere either. It may be one of those kind of platooning situations. For all we know, that's what's going to be interesting to me as well, because you do have a decision to make, especially when you're looking over at shortstop and even still trying to figure that out, because that goes back and forth with Shoemake versus Shoemake versus Grissom.
Shoemake. There you go. Sorry.
So Shoemake versus Grissom. That's an interesting and intriguing situation that the Braves have there as well. So there may be some spots. We obviously know when it comes to Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud that that's going to be a platooning. Yes. But I suspect there may be some platooning elsewhere until some, for lack of a better term, cream rises to the top.
Yeah, I think it's going to get really interesting because they have a lot of guys that they can throw out there in their left field spot, and I think we can kind of make sure. I think it's safe to say that more than likely he won't be playing out in their left field spot, and I think ideally Snitker and Anthopoulos would like to place him in that DH spot and kind of rotate with Travis d'Arnaud, like you mentioned, with that rotation that's going to be happening at the catcher spot as well, because you want to keep Travis d'Arnaud's bat based off of what he's been able to give you in these past few years since he's been on this roster. So I think that having the option and the flexibility to be able to throw Marcell Ozuna in there from time to time and knowing what to expect from him, I think that's the ultimate goal, because like you said, you making all this doggone money. Either you got to show value so we can trade you, or you got to give us a little something when we do decide to put you out there. And speaking of talking about putting them out there, how about this? Max Fried, mowing folks down. The Twins, if I can get specific right there. How about this, like opening day starter? Like, how excited are you about Max Fried? Because I feel like when I was just paying attention to, what he's been doing in spring training and everything, it just looked like this dude is Cy Young ready this year.
Oh, yeah. Max continues to be Mad Max. Like, he went 6 1/3 innings, and I looked through all these spring training games, and that by far is the longest any of the pitchers have stayed in the game, right? So
Right.
6 1/3 innings, and you didn't allow one earned run. You struck out, what, 5 batters? I mean, that's crazy. I think he maybe walked one. Like, just, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. Like, I don't even think there's a question. Can we just go ahead and call the man the ace and keep it moving? Like,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
I
he's
don't think
that
that's any
guy.
question at this
Although
point.
we're
Yeah.
excited about Kyle Wright coming back. He'll get his first start of spring training today when the Braves take on the Rays. But ultimately, Max Fried is your one. Max Fried is your ace.
Yeah,
And
he's
I
good.
wish we were talking. It's one of those things where it's like, can we normalize talking about Max Fried again? Because we've been having so much conversation about the fifth spot in the rotation. We've been going back and forth. Is it Jared Schuster? Is it Dylan Dodd? Especially after, of course, Ian Anderson was optioned out to AAA last week. But guess what? And Bryce Elder, right?
Bryce Elder,
To
yep.
AAA last week. But I think one of those kind of low-key stories, just like the Marcell Ozuna story, where he's low-key having a good spring training, is Max Fried, who we don't talk about enough. Max Fried.
An embarrassment of riches is, I think, is the word we can use, because like, yeah, we're so locked in on the fifth starter. What's Michael Soroka gonna do? What's Kyle Wright shoulder gonna do? He's gonna get supposed to be in his first action today, which is a good sign. And then Michael Soroka's on Wednesday. He's gonna get his first start in spring training, and for first time in quite some time. So it'd be looking forward to those guys getting everything going. But like you said, Max Fried is the guy. He's gonna be that opening day starter, and he is very much showing and proving like, hey, I'm the dude. Y'all can talk about that fifth guy all you want to, but hey, I'm the number one. I'm the ace, and I'm gonna keep this thing going. Keep the party going. If you want to keep the party going as far as was March, have you been paying attention to the tournament? How about this? How about you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on. It is the number one sports book in America. Now, guess what? Not only am I telling you to go there, I'm going to tell you to go there for a reason, because for new customers, they have the no sweat first bet up to $1,000. That's bonus bets back if your first bet doesn't win. So if you lose your shorts, you've been betting on John Collins, playing some defense, in the arena, and he hasn't been doing that, or he's trying to hit those threes he's been hitting lately. Hey, he might be a guy you might need to check out. So all you got to do is just download the app. It's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same game parlay. So make sure that you take advantage of what FanDuel has going on. Like I said, they have the money lines, the spreads, and the total as well. So all the stuff that you find at your normal sports betting apps, you can find it at the number one sports book in America. So don't miss your chance to get the no sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets back when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That's FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Now, the one thing you don't want to bet on is the Hawks, because we just don't know, people. We just don't know if the Hawks are going to hawk.
Today.
We don't know if they're going to hawk. Or we don't know if they're going to show the best example of themselves. So you guys know that we love to tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly when the situation arises. And Jarvis, I would say what we saw in San Antonio on Sunday is a situation that rises to the occasion of talking good, bad, and ugly. But in all fairness, we will start out with the good. We'll go ahead and be what ATL Day Ones is. We're a positive, optimistic camp
Fair
over here. So yeah, Hawks beat the Warriors Friday night. Solid win. What was the best thing you saw in it? What was the good that you saw in Friday? Or if you happen to see any good on Sunday, Jarvis, you can roll with that too.
Oh no, it was nothing good about Sunday, so I just start with Friday. The fact that Trae Young, we talked about this going into this game on Friday as well, about how Trae's steals have gone up like in a nice tick. But for him to be able to get that steal at the end of the game, towards the end of the game in the fourth quarter, I feel like that kind of says something about him being locked in and being committed to this new regime and saying, hey, I'm going to step my game up. I'm going to prove that, hey, I want to take this thing to another level. So yeah, I think the good thing for me was definitely seeing Trae Young out there playing some good defense. And I got to give the man the credit when the credit's due. John Collins in the first quarter where he had, I think I text you, where he was like 17 points in the first quarter, and there's still like 2 to 3 minutes left in that quarter. So I think that, and then Golden State got off to a really, really hot start as well. So for them to sustain and weather the storm, so to speak, and be able to come back like that, I think that was definitely two things that just really stood out to me off the bat.
Yeah, and I'll give you that. I think that I would co-sign on that. And we also talked about the fact that, hey, you don't have Draymond Green in the game. You don't have Kevon Looney. So go ahead and take advantage of what you can get inside. I felt like they did a solid job of that as well. So, yeah, We'll give them good for that. Now, the band. After the Golden State game, John Collins was being interviewed on the court, and JC took it upon himself to call out the crowd for being out-cheered by Warriors fans who were in the building. Who made JC do that, Jarvis?
I don't know. Like, here's the thing when it comes to John Collins, right? I know I'll take credit for, being a little harsh on the man, but this is why I'm harsh on him, because the man is willing to, when somebody put a microphone in front of his face, he is so willing to talk every time. And my whole thing about that is, and people, and I got some comments, when I tweeted that out, when I was in the arena on Friday, people were like, oh yeah, he's the leader. He should be saying, no, he doesn't. Like, because at the end of the day, like, you lost the lead in that game too.
Yes,
like,
you did.
And we're used to seeing that. And guess what has changed with this new regime, with this new organization, and Steve Koonin and the likes of those people out here making these certain decisions, to where teams this Atlanta folks are coming down to an arena. They're coming down to State Farm. Like, I was talking to a season ticket holder Friday night, saying that it was 700 people in line waiting for season tickets, waiting for those people not to renew. Now, that may have been a sales pitch, but the fact that you're able to say 700 people are in line waiting for season tickets, that says a lot about what this city loves about this team. And guess why they love him? Because you have a superstar in Trae Young. And now back to John. John, dude, like, people who are willing to say certain things that need to be said, they're consistent. They have the play that goes along with that. And for you to get up here and sit up here on your high horse and grab that microphone like you cutting a WWE promo, talking about all y'all fans and ATL, it don't make no sense, out cheer and all, using all these buzzwords, right? Like, I don't appreciate that. When I heard it, because I was sitting right there in the arena, most of the media had gone on down to the post-game press conference room, and I'm sitting up here like, what are you talking about? Because you're so inconsistent. Yeah. So why would I consistently try to out-cheer super duper NBA fans who come into the arena all the time? This happens all the time, dude. Like, but the difference is the fact that people are in the arena. There are sellout crowds. And for you not to acknowledge that and then say that, hey, you being out-cheered and the support and all that stuff, we ain't gonna support no inconsistent, bruh.
Right. And the Warriors fans were literally just strategic. They're the same as the Heat fans, because they are, to me, they're
same as the Knicks fans, the Bulls fans.
Exactly. Like, those are just going to be bases that are going to be strategic. So you can't get mad at that base, because that base, the minute the schedule comes out, that base goes and buys those tickets. That's just the reality. However, to your point, Jarvis, what John Collins should be more concerned about is the fact that the Hawks faithful who come out, let's say the arena fits, 21,000 people, and 70% of that is Hawks, you've got to give them something to come out for. Like, we're still 35 and 36, Jarvis, is 71, right? So that means they've got 11 games left to try to scrimp, and scrape their way out of the play-in.
Yeah.
Why are we having that conversation with 11 games left? With 11 games left, that inconsistency, the fact that a lot of people couldn't believe what they saw yesterday, but then could believe it at the same time, that's the problem with what you said, John. If the product, like you said, was consistent,
you have a point.
Yeah, people would be Yeah, people would be in there like at least out cheering the Warriors fans. They already outnumber them. You just wouldn't know sometimes when those fan bases come into the building. But you got to give them something consistent to work with, because listen, what they're thinking about ahead of tomorrow's game against the Pistons, they've already forgotten what you did with the Warriors.
Yeah.
They're looking at the ugly, the good, the bad. Now, the ugly of what you did in San Antonio is resonating with people. So they're looking at themselves no differently than we're looking at ourselves and saying, how did the Hawks blow a 24-point lead that ended up being essentially a 32-point swing to the Spurs?
Yeah.
Score 83 points. 83 in the first half. And yet, here we are 24 hours later talking about it, Al. Ugly.
Yeah, super ugly. And the irony in that, to come right after you make your comments, like, it just speaks to the type of season this has been.
Yes.
From the reports about the Trey and doggone Nate beefing, and then Nick Wrestler, Tony Wrestler's son, out here running things from behind the scenes, and Landry Fields being a first-time GM and hiring his homeboy to be a scout. They used to be a beat writer over on the West Coast. Like, all of this stuff is just crap. It's just a whole bunch of crap that just comes to the forefront every time he opens his mouth about something or says something, or somebody trying to get a story. Him being the first one to raise his hand saying, "Hey, I'm willing to speak. Talk to me." Yeah. So yeah, it just stinks, and it's straight booty. T. At the end of the day, it's booty, and they play like booty as soon as he opened his mouth.
Yeah, it's so very frustrating. And then you think about how the Spurs dug their way back into it. Technically, you should be responsible for helping on the perimeter, because Clint Capella was fine inside, right? 12 rebounds, 15 points, solid night for him. A block. He doesn't need any help on the interior.
Typical, yeah.
What he needs is for you to go to the outside when you see Keldon Johnson and Devin Vassell starting to hit threes at a clip of 67.
Who?
There it is. At a clip of 67%. The Spurs squad in the third quarter, Jarvis, shot 67% from three. At what point do you not say, we kind of better shore up the perimeter and really get in their faces and contest shots? Because regardless of if they come back and beat us, that's just what you're supposed to do, whether you're the second unit in there or whether you're the first unit that's thrown back in there because they're starting to make a run at you. Almost the only way that somebody scores 67% is that they are getting free and open looks. But here's the thing too, Jarvis. Real talk, mid-range was a problem as well. 66% in the third quarter for mid-range. So when I see that, we already know that there's a perimeter problem, right, Jarvis? We already know perimeter D is an issue. Yeah. But when I see 66% from the field, that's a want to. That's an effort issue. And that is what is most frustrating when we start looking at those underlying numbers and seeing how you got from a 24-point lead to an 8-point loss.
Yeah, it stinks, and only scored 30, and not only defensively, but they only scored 35 points in the entirety of the second half.
Right, you scored 20, and then had the audacity to follow that up with 15. No, sir.
In the fourth quarter, one of the worst teams in the fourth quarter in scoring, by the way. Let's go ahead and say that. So, and it makes sense because, no lead is safe with this team. No lead. No lead is safe with this team. Yeah. Nobody can be comfortable in the fourth quarter when the Hawks have a lead going into the fourth quarter. Nobody. No. Even the players. Right. Even the players
you on that other team, however. Yeah, and once you start giving players confidence and they feel like they're in their rhythm, they're going to start heat checking. And if they start heaving them up and heat checking and the heat checks go in, it's over. What we saw yesterday was absolutely ugly. So we know what you have to do. We know you got to get a bill card. We know you do, because it's painful for you. And you probably got to get one because your bracket is busted, right? So March Madness, man, the brackets are here, but So many people's brackets have been busted. And, sometimes you just need your favorite bar or your favorite puff to make it okay. So you can go to builtmarchmadness.com to vote for your favorites. And it's kind of cool because, hey, at least you'll have something to say that does not make you have to worry about a team, right? And whether or not they win or bust your bracket completely. So, I'll be voting for almond. I don't know if you guys know, but I like almond. And the churro is kind of intriguing to me as well. So you could definitely do that. And if you want whatever team it is that you want to win, I don't have anybody in the fight, Jarvis. I don't know if you still have somebody, a dog in the race. So we don't have a dog in the race, but if you still do, then you'll be able to vote for that bar too. You can support your team and support your bar or buff at the same time. And don't forget, when you vote, you'll be entered into a drawing. Now, this to me is really cool. 50 lucky Locked On listeners will get a free box of Built. A free one? Who hates freebies? And not only that, one Locked On fan, just one, will get a 12-month subscription to Built to have Built's best bars or puffs delivered monthly straight to your door. So don't forget about the good. That's the proteins that you get, the 15 grams. Don't forget about the fat that's going away, 130 grams of fat. So you're not going to be doing anything bad to yourself. 4 grams of sugar, 100% real chocolate. You cannot beat it. But don't forget, go to builtmarchmadness.com right now, or at least after this show, to vote.
Absolutely. Locked On Sports Atlanta family, we need your help. We are on our way to 6,000 subscribers. So we need you to go to YouTube, type in that Locked On Sports Atlanta in that search box, and then we'll pop right up. All you got to do, hit that subscribe button. And if you are on the audio side listening, make sure you leave us a 5-star review so everybody else can find out about all this goodness you've been taking in almost over this past year. Now, atlday1s@gmail.com if you got comments or any questions about what we got going on the show. Monday through Friday, we are free and available wherever you download your podcast. But T, this is for the culture. There's an intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. Sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down in the show. Today is no different. How about this? Rick Ross was gifted some pets. What's the big deal, Jarvis? He was gifted some pet buffaloes, and his neighbor has been complaining because, they've been wandering and grazing over into that person's yard, and the neighbor has knocked on the door to try to confront the folks about it, and Rick Ross people, push back, obviously, for some odd reason, like, hey, you're going to have buffaloes roaming around on your doggone yard. You probably need to keep them there or build a fence. So, hey, they won't get out. But yeah, T, I think overall, I understand this man, the Wing King, and Wing Stops, he owned multiple Wing Stops. But I think owning Buffalo, as a point of pride, I think that might be a little bit too much, T.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, what is this? Like, it made me think about that song, "Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, home on the range." What is this? I mean, are we there, or are we in Fayetteville? I mean, where are we here? Because if we're in Fayetteville,
Come on,
then
man.
you and your buffalo gotta go. And no, Rick Ross, you can't tell your neighbors, hey, maybe you could just feed them carrots. Who's gonna get that close to a 2,000-pound monstrosity to say, "Here, Leo, here, Sparky"? It's not a dog. It's the buffalo. So no, I'm not feeding the buffalo carrots. I just really want the buffalo to go away. If I'm your neighbor, we're doing too much. But once again, I will say this: Rick Ross is winning, because guess what? We're talking about him, which means we're going to be talking about his wings, and the end. He wins again.
I love talking about wings on this show. Y'all know how I get down when it comes to wings. Like, no doubt about it. Now, T, I got to talk about this before we get ready to get out of here. So, my wife and I, we got some youngins. So we got invited out to a birthday party at this place called Urban Air. So it's a little trampoline park, real cool, got a nice little setup and everything. So we went there on a Saturday, which was probably the first mistake. And so the wife and I, on 2 separate occasions, got into it with some kids. And I almost threatened to pull out my belt, and my wife, she threw her hands and almost bucked on, like, what you want to do, like, type situation. And the kid was only 9 years old, T. Like, so, I got my wife out here about to doggone buck on a 9-year-old. I'm out here about to take off my belt because, this little this little person doggone sassing me about, running up on my youngest daughter. You know what I'm saying? I was like, hey, man, y'all need to back up. And he up here coming up on me talking about, do you work here? I was like, no, that's my daughter right there. And then and look, he was with his grandparents. So his grandparents was like, going up them steps, boy. I was like, yeah, you better tell him going up them doggone steps because I got a belt on and I'll doggone come across his doggone head with this doggone thing. But T, like, help me out here because, like, oh no, did we take it a little bit too far? Like, I think I may have the answer, but
like just a hair. Just walk away. Just walk away. Because the thing of it is, with the stare down that you and Tanae can give anybody, like those kids would have just been, So they would have been gotten all the way together by just a stare down from the Davises. But I do understand because you have a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, and 9, that's a big gap, right? Yeah. So you are definitely, it makes you as a parent a little bit nervous because you don't want your kid to be intimidated or not enjoy what you paid for them to go there and enjoy. But next time just give them that stare down.
Yeah, so
kids these days though, they will try you. They will try you.
And I'm like, man, don't you be sass mouthing me? What's wrong with you, little boy? Anyway, you want to thank you, T, for that quick session there. I appreciate you. I also want to thank you guys for making ATL Day 1 your first listen today. Why don't you stop by Locked On Sports today and make them your second listen of the day? Yeah, free and available wherever on YouTube and wherever you find your podcast. Now, if this message doesn't fit me more than any other day. So, yes, Jarvis, I'm talking to you today. Yes, I'm talking to myself on this show. Make sure that you share love, show love, and most importantly, spread love.